Hey, what is going on, guys? In this video, I want to share with you why I think it is probably not the best time to be buying a house for long term, especially if it's the house that you want to buy to live in yourself. When you buy a house, you are basically confined to one area and it's hard to move, and these interest rates are changing and all that. So, I've got this article I want to go through that addresses kind of a point that I have been struggling with personally. We're going to go through it, and then I'm also going to share some more data. I don't know if, yeah, you can see here on the screen, I've got some tabs and some data to share with you. So firstly, this is kind of what doesn't make sense, right? The Federal Reserve has hiked interest rates to levels not seen since before the financial crisis in 2008. The money supply has contracted at a rapid rate. This should cause the economy to slow down. Less money in the system, less money to spend, right? Yet month after month, we get strong job numbers, rosy economic headlines, and assurances that the economy remains robust. And hey, what's up, Jerry? What's up? If you have any questions, by the way, while I go through this, don't hesitate to drop a chat, and also hit the like button too if you end up liking the video. It helps me out here on YouTube, spreads it around. But so what exactly is going on here? Largely, there's probably some politics involved with some of the decision making, but that's not what this channel is about. Why hasn't the predicted recession materialized yet is the question that we are wanting to address here. So, firstly, also too, if you're interested in the real estate or the crypto content I make, I have a separate channel for that. There's a link down in the description. So here we're focused on real estate on this channel moving forward. So here we go. This economist, Daniel Lacalle, suggests another reason the data isn't reflecting any kind of significant economic slowdown. He calls it the nationalization of the economy, which is not a good thing. This is common in those old type of economies, you know, from 50 years ago, and the economy that is in China right now that we don't want to necessarily have over here in the United States. So when I read the nationalization of the economy, kind of a scary thought. We're going to see if it plays out here. But he thinks a crash is looming, and it feels like a crash should be looming with, I don't know if you're experiencing people getting laid off around you and whatnot, but I'm certainly seeing it. I know, and I'm going to share some data with you as well. Like, for example, this is that money supply, the M2 money supply. M2 is the short. It is the more liquid stuff. So what we have, cash on hand, cash in our savings and our checking, and any short-term deposits like CDs, things like that. Your 401k, I do not believe, is counted in the M2 money supply. So that money supply is leaving the system there. So we are witnessing the stealth nationalization of the economy, he says. The entire burden of the monetary collapse and rate hikes has fallen on the shoulders of families and small businesses. So this is why you might not be seeing it yet in the S&P 500. The S&P 500 is going pretty strong, right? If we go over to the futures and take a look at what that chart has been doing, it has been, you know, we had in December 2021, it was at its high, and then it's since, you know, had this sort of price action here. And then it is broken above that, and we see an uptrend here basically since all of 2023 has been in an uptrend. So the large corporations and governments, they're virtually unaffected because they've been getting bailouts, right? The banks are being bailed out, and it likely is going to come to some of these small businesses as well. So bloated government spending is disguising a private sector recession and the decline in real disposable income, real wages, and margins of small and medium businesses. Furthermore, the accidental and exogenous factor of widespread weaker commodities is boosting the external contribution to gross domestic product, GDP. And that, I know that's kind of a word salad there, but if we go and look at, for example, our current in the United States, we are draining our oil reserves, which has the price of gas out in the real economy kind of down, and we don't have to purchase oil necessarily from abroad, is the way I understand that. So oil right now is down to lows it hasn't seen since, I mean, it's been a while, right? Since December 2021 during that bull run, right? It went up. Now it's back down. So that's going to also make producing things cheaper. So producing things are cheaper, which is going to kind of keep that inflation down. You know that we're dealing with inflation in the United States. This is not exactly a good deal, but that's helping with these commodities being so low. These are the main reasons why we are living in the middle of a recession and a destruction of private wealth and wages, but the official data does not reflect it, right? As government weight in the economy rises faster, technical recessions may not appear in the official data, but citizens suffer it nevertheless. So the government, right, in the United States are printing money, and the government, a lot of our GDP is from government spending, which could be on civil programs. Social Security does not count in that, but federal spending, civil services, things like that. And they print new money to do that. So it's going to increase the GDP, right, because they are spending. And they are spending in areas that the private sector may not feel. So S&P 500, subsidizing the S&P 500, that kind of thing. The reader, me, and you may think that this is good news because the spending of governments goes straight to the citizens via social spending. However, there's nothing that the state provides that it does not take away from the private sector now or in the future. So the government does not produce anything. The government does not have an income generator, right? They're not innovative. They don't create new things to go and sell to other, except maybe weapons, right? Something like that they can go and sell. That all comes from the private sector. So the government essentially just takes. That's all it is. It just takes. It produces nothing, right? It's an expense only thing. Deficit spending now means higher taxes and lower real wages afterwards. Therefore, the flip side of no official recession yet is more public debt now and after, which puts every person in the United States at risk now, or their kids and their future generations at risk, right? Because someone is going to have to pay for this. Don't worry, we're getting to real estate here in a second, and why I think it's not the best time, why it could be the worst time to be buying a house if you're trying to time the market. With the current slump in money supply, inflation should be half of what it is, and it's not even considering the tweaks in the official calculation of CPI. However, money velocity, which is how fast it transacts, right? Like, for example, if you have a business, right? Just a quick lesson here on money velocity. If I have $1 and then you have a business, say, a car wash, and I go and I give you the dollar, and you as the business took the dollar. Now there's $2, right? There was $2 in GDP or $1 in GDP that was added because I bought your product. You take that water and you go buy soap for your car wash that same day, and there goes that dollar. That's $2 in GDP. So you can see how $1 moving in the economy, depending on the velocity of it, can increase GDP. That's what that means. Let's see. Money velocity is not declining because the state consumption of newly created currency units is rising despite poor real private consumption investment. So I don't have the money to spend, but the state, they're printing money, they're taxing, they're doing whatever they can, and they are injecting money supply, right? That's why the economy seems like it is doing good. Could it help if we back our money by gold? Not sure that we're going to get there. And also, let me make my face small because who cares about my mug? And if so, how do we do that? We could talk about that. I'll probably do a separate video on that because that's a really good question. Can we ever go to a gold-backed currency? That would have to be, the money's. I just don't see them doing that because the mechanism is debt-based right now. Our whole system is debt-based. So for them to go back to gold-backed currency means they can't print, right? Unless they just start to do fractional reserve like they're doing right now, they won't be able to print, which means they won't be able to. The government wants full control, right? So they do that by printing, debasing us as private citizens, and then they have, at the end of the day, they'll end up being the monster that controls everything. Like we're talking about here, the stealth nationalization of the economy is underway, and when that happens, full control to them, right? Consumption, if we think of the quantitative theory of money, this may be the first private-only recession. So this might be a recession of just the private economy, right? Which would be terrible because the money supply declines and the money velocity growth coming from the public sector offsets it. Let's see here. The problem when government spending ignores any monetary tightening. Okay, so we have inflation now and it's somewhat under control, right? They seem to be getting it down, but most people aren't considering this. We have inflation because they have printed money. There's more money out there, which is money in the demands of people means more money they can spend on products, which drives the price up. But you've also got the government has to pay, in order to get inflation down, they had to raise the rates. And the rates on the government's borrowing also went up, which means their interest expense every year has also increased. But we're not making enough money to pay it. So in order to pay their interest expense, because it's higher, because they had to raise the rates, because inflation is higher, because they printed the money, they have to borrow more money to pay these debts, these interests that they can't do, which means they're going to have to create more money, which is also going to exacerbate inflation. So the problem when government spending ignores any monetary tightening is that the second leg up of inflation comes from even higher state subsidies using new units of currency, printing money, and the downward spiral may start and become impossible to stop. So as the interest rate and credit access to the backbone of the economy, households, and small businesses here gets worse and dries up, governments step in to solve a problem they caused by creating even more entitlement and subsidy expenditures with constantly depreciated units of currency. Thing is, people have to make the things. So they can't, it's going to be really weird, right? People are still going to have to make this stuff. So it's not like people can't work. Not everyone can live off the government because, again, the government doesn't create anything. All it does is take, right? So that's the end of this article, but I do have some other data points that I kind of wanted to share. One here, Liz Ann Saunders. What's up, Roman? I want to know if house prices are going up or down 6 to 12 months from now. So that's why I'm saying I think right now might be one of the worst times to buy, because not financial advice, in my opinion, unless there's a couple things I'm going to talk about here that they can do that might, kind of squash this a little bit. But I'm in no hurry right now based on a couple things. But it's kind of this thing of limbo, right? So firstly, household savings could run out as soon as September. So savings are drying up. We know that savings are drying up. And you've also got, Americans' debt surpasses $17 trillion for the first time. We got student loans. We got credit card debt that's just out of control, right? And that's another thing with these interest rates rising. Credit card debt interest rate to pay off your credit card is like at all-time highs as well. Or not, maybe all-time high in a really long time. I don't know what it was in like the 80s or something like that. I don't know that credit cards was widely used back then either, but I'm sure they probably were. 17 trillion. So we have no savings. I don't know what this, that's kind of the question. Household excess savings, what savings? So we're in big trouble. People are running out of savings. They're in debt. Their credit card interest rates are going through the roof. It's likely that jobs and unemployment is going to increase. JOLTS job openings coming below expectations, and a lot of these are fake. The unemployment number, I don't know if you guys are aware of how that is calculated, but if a 20-year-old perfectly working, able-bodied kid just let's say just lives in his parents' basement and plays video games, he doesn't have any expenses or anything like that, he doesn't get counted in the unemployment number because he's not trying to get a job. He's not trying to work. Isn't that crazy? So essentially, if they are statistically, and Peter St. Onge says this a lot, they are statistically retired at 20 in terms of the numbers that are reported, which is absolutely insane in my opinion. You want a real unemployment number? Put those people in there. Let's see what the actual unemployment rate is. That's how I think about it. So it's likely we're going to get some increases in unemployment and so here are some things that they can do. But also, I don't know if I have the tweet. I should have the tweet. Let's see. Okay, so here's the take for right now, and it looks like I may not have that tweet pulled up. So one thing that they could do is, in Canada right now, lenders, I don't know if you guys are watching what's going on in Canada, but their real estate market is about to implode, because I don't know if you guys know this, but in Canada and different places around the world, you've got the mortgages are basically almost like 57%. I think they say right here. Holy shiz, right? 53% of outstanding mortgages in Canada are ARMs, adjustable rate mortgages, meaning that in 5 years, it is a fixed rate, or 5, 10 years, whatever. And then it goes to the prevailing interest rate, which means we're in this high interest environment right now, which means interest rates go through roof, means overnight payment skyrockets. No longer can afford a house, might have to default. Lenders now seeing 60, 70, even 90-year mortgages in Canada. You might not have known this if you live in the United States, but you can also get a 40-year mortgage in the United States. However, you can't really get them to purchase a house. It's more so here, traditionally, as they say, 40-year loans have been used as a loss mitigation option offered to homeowners who are in mortgage default or forbearance and struggling to make their house payments. So people in trouble, right? This type of loan isn't a common option for borrowers simply looking for longer loan term on a new purchase. So you're not able to, like I said, right? So that's something they could do. Maybe the government comes out and they offer a program and say everyone can refinance into a 40-year mortgage if they want to, which is a real bummer, right? Imagine paying 15 years on your mortgage and then you have to move and to buy a new house or just whatever. It's going to be a huge mess. That whole move thing didn't really apply. People do not want to move right now that are locked into those 3% mortgages. They definitely do not want to move. So you've got this option. Maybe they make this more widespread. It looks like here, effective May 8th, 2023, the FHA will join Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and other entities in offering a 40-year loan modification. So it'll be loan modified and backed by the government, is what this essentially says. They're not qualified loans. Yada, whatever, right? So then we've got this too. Right before a recession, and I mean, let's assume that house prices drop during a recession. I don't know when that doesn't really happen. So let's assume that everything goes as normal. You've got this, right? And again, there's things that they might be able to do to make it so that housing prices do not absolutely fall off of a cliff. But you've got this 2-year, 10-year yield curve inversion, essentially. And this is just the spread. It's a way to look at it. And every time it goes negative, we get a recession. Negative recession, negative recession. Even back in the 80s, it was negative, and then we went into a recession while it was still negative. Usually, it comes up to, even, and then we get into the recession. Look where we are right now, guys. Look at that. Look how low that is. Maybe they can fix it. Maybe there's something they're working on that they can do to fix that. But if we're going to head into a recession, and it's a bummer I can't find that article. The article essentially was talking about 37% of the of businesses right now are zombie companies that are near default. 37% of those companies. So this is going to be a big deal for housing prices because as unemployment goes up, it could force people they're going to miss their mortgage payments or their rents, which get them potentially evicted. If they don't drop the rents, then that landlord may not be able to fill it. They might have to go bankrupt on that house, which that could mean more supply to the market, more supply on the market. And we're not even going to get into demographics in this video. More supply on the market means housing prices drop. So 37%, if interest rates stay high and these companies can no longer service the debt, unless the government just prints like literally, the meme kind of deal, these companies are going to be in super trouble because they're zombies. A zombie company essentially means when interest rates are zero and they can borrow the money, they're making just enough profit to be able to pay back their loans. Now you raise that rate to 5%. Now they're not making enough profit to pay their interest expenses, which means the banks default on the loans, right? Bank goes out of business, it goes bankrupt. Also probably not good for the banks. So we could have more issues with the banks. The banks are trying to fix the commercial real estate problem that we're in right now. Because all these offices are vacant. And a lot of them I've learned that get loans for commercial real estate, they're not actually backed. They're not guaranteed loans. So the people that took them out can just walk away and it's completely fine for them to do so and it goes back to the bank. But then the bank, they're not in the business of managing real estate. They want to sell it, but they can't sell it for what it's worth on the books. So they have to take a loss. And that's what the the government and the Fed, and there's another one, the HFL Bank, Federal Home Loan Bank, kind of a stealth way that they're doing quantitative easing right now to kind of ease things, and that looks like that is what is happening. So let me try to summarize this, maybe in a way here. Interest rates, the Fed said, is going to be higher for longer. Higher interest rates mean mortgages are really high, and from that tweet that I shared with you, it is 7.1% right now, and it's likely going to go up. That is going to make real estate prices kind of unaffordable unless wages typically increase, which is only going to exacerbate inflation, so they would have to raise rates higher, so bad. Government deficit spending is going through the roof, most likely, especially with these interest rates, also going to be a problem for inflation. These zombie companies are going to go bankrupt unless they do something, which is going to cause mass unemployment, most likely, and a lot of people aren't going to be able to pay their rent, which could hurt landlords, or the people that own the house themselves are going to lose their jobs, miss their mortgage payments, and they're going to lose the house that way, unless they refinance into some other loans. And then another thing to consider is also just this indicator here on the 10-year, 2-year yield curve inversion. So what is going to happen? I'm not entirely sure, but could this be one of the worst times to buy a house? Potentially. I suppose it could have been worse if you bought last year, right, before stuff started to collapse. But yeah, what's up, Brendan? Yo, back on this channel. Yeah, so this channel is going to be real estate only again moving forward. If you're interested in the crypto, which Brendan, I know you are, that is on the other channel, Crypto Lush, which there's a link to that down in the description if you want to chat about crypto. So that's it for this one. I just don't, for me personally, again, not financial advice, I'm totally content with waiting. There are real estate strategies you can do during this time to make money, especially on the short term. You can wholesale real estate. You can also get really good terms potentially on some seller financing, someone that's in a really tricky spot with their mortgage. You might be able to do a subject to deal with them under really good terms. They can maybe walk away from the house, and then you could keep the house that way, refinance it potentially when interest rates decrease to keep the house if you wanted to. There's just different, you could get as creative as you want. That's the beauty of real estate. You can make up whatever deal you want, and if a seller accepts it, the seller accepts it, right? But that's going to be it for this video. I hope you got some value out of it, for real. If you liked it, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell for more real estate content in the future, and I'll see you on the next video.